Marketing Essentials for Entrepreneurs. I thought it would be good to put together a workshop. I've had a relationship with the folks here at HQ Raleigh, and I do Roar Marketing Concepts. I'll talk about my company in a minute, but I do, once a month I do office hours here where I advise the residents here on marketing strategy. And I've had a good few takers. Marketing has always been a subject that usually when I talk to some companies they don't have a good handle on, and it's something they don't really understand very well. And maybe that's you here today, and if it is, then you're in the right place, because I want to present some concepts to you, some fundamental marketing concepts that I think are important for any business. So without further ado, let me just kind of get right into it. Just a couple of housekeeping things. We have lunch coming at noon. It's going to be some pizza and salad, so I'm going to probably talk while we eat, if that's okay, to keep this thing going. Another thing that I'd like this to be interactive. I may ask you some questions because I'd like to get your input on some things here. So it won't be 3 hours of me talking. And then thirdly, I'll have this presentation available to you. I will be able to send it to you via PDF or PowerPoint, whatever you like, but I'll make this presentation available to you. I just didn't want to print it out because I didn't want to kill too many trees in order to provide those. So I figured if you want, you can take some notes, but you will have the presentation. Just a little bit about me. My name is Ken Wood, and I am founder and CEO of Roar Marketing Concepts, which is a company I started a couple of years ago. And our goal is to help technology, small and mid-sized technology companies, grow their revenue profitably, and predictably and repeatably by providing them comprehensive marketing strategy. And what we do is and we'll go through some of the methodology here in the presentation, is we meet with technology companies, try to understand what their business goals are, what a good outcome would be as a result of the marketing efforts that they're going to invest in. And then we also look at what they're currently doing, if anything. We also like to look at any data that they are tabulating or measuring, because it's important to have measurements to ensure you're moving in the right direction. And then what we do is we try to identify the gaps between where the company wants to be and where they are today. So when you talk to some marketing agencies in the triangle here, some of them they specialize in different things. Some will say, we're branding, we'll do your logo, we'll do your website, we're the social media people. With Roar, you may need a social media strategy for your marketing efforts. I don't know, but it's one of those things that we take a holistic approach and then come up with a whole strategy. And then what I typically do is implement and bring in strategic partners to help me with some of the implementation. So just my background has been, I started out life as an engineer, electrical engineer in power and energy, and did that for many, many years. And then about almost 25 plus years ago, I moved over to the dark side into marketing and sales, and did technical product management, technology marketing, and also did a lot in the areas of software development, IT, energy. I'm also a gearhead. I love data. I love looking at data. I'll talk a little bit about analytics today, not very much, but analytics as it relates to making marketing decisions. So it's just a little bit about me. The topics that I wanted to cover today, I'm going to talk about value proposition. I want to talk about how to understand your target market, which I think is important. Talking about your unique differentiators in the competition. What's your competitive advantage? What do you have that the competition doesn't have? Also, talk a little bit about how to develop a marketing budget. I'm going to go through an example using some example numbers, but it's important to come up with a budget in the sense of that when we do that, we're going to also measure the return on investment for the money we spend on marketing. It's important for us to understand that. How do we measure for success? How do we measure whether we're moving the ball forward when we're putting together our marketing initiatives and implementing them? Are we getting the results we want? And because marketing is an investment, and that the results do take time to come, we have to put measurement systems in place to ensure along the way, internally, that we are moving in the right direction. And then finally, I want to introduce to you some tools. Free, some of them are free, most of them are free, tools that can help you implement some marketing initiatives. And I think you'll find some of the things that we show there are quite interesting. This is what I have today. I don't know if anybody has anything that they want to specifically talk about, but I think this is a good place for us to start. So, okay. So, you may be asking yourself, why do I need a marketing strategy? What does anybody here feel that sometimes? So, I mean, when they think about marketing, do you ask yourself, do I really need a strategy? Or just is it the case here that most of you see the value of a marketing strategy? I mean, I'm asking. I'd like to know, what the feeling is. I mean, this guy isn't sure that he needs one.
I've always felt if you have a strategy, then you have a goal. And if you have a goal, you can measure whether or not you've reached your goal. And,
Right.
So creating goals and benchmarks is important. So I think having a strategy to me always makes sense. Having a strategy in anything you do, so whether it's sales or marketing.
Okay. Well, let me just say, what in your mind, and before we get forward, what would you say the goal? If you're putting a marketing strategy in place, what is the goal of a marketing strategy? What do you believe should be the outcome of your efforts in your mind? Yes.
Leads, generate leads.
Okay.
Right, and then ultimately turn those leads into business development opportunities.
Okay. So the leads, they turn into customers.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I will just build on that with what she said, that engagement, studying the word engagement and relationship and repeat customers.
Okay. Right. I think you're talking a little bit higher up in the funnel than you're down. We're going to talk about that. So, marketing is essential. It's essential for every company, whether they realize it or not. And the reason why, customer engagement. Typically, when you develop a relationship, either personal or business relationships, let's just take the business relationships. You need to develop a relationship with your customer before they're going to buy from you, typically. There has to be some history between you. So it's important that if you're going to, especially the larger, the more expensive a product is, the longer that relationship and that engagement needs to take place before customers can know, trust, and believe in your product before they'll buy. So that is important, customer engagement. It's about building relationships. Any type, all business, I would argue, even though it's online or offline, business is built on relationships. We need to have relationships with our customers so that they will buy from us. They need to establish trust in us that we are making products and services that are going to help them achieve whatever goals that they are trying to achieve. Growing sales. Now that's the thing. We want to, eventually this is a hard and fast measurement that we can look at to ensure that our marketing efforts are successful. We're growing sales, which is good. Which is, growing sales leads to more revenue, profits. Obviously, we want also, I would say to you that your marketing efforts and how you do your marketing will determine whether you achieve profit or revenue. Are you marketing to the right people? The people that value what your products and services can do. And I'm going to talk more about value in just a little bit. And I would submit that marketing is essential in order to have a sustainable, growing business. Any business that does not spend their efforts on marketing is a business that is not going to grow. So I believe these are some key reasons why marketing is essential. You'll hear people say, well, we're going to build this product We think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and we just believe that customers are going to come. And I say, well, and I've asked people to say, so what makes you believe that the customers are going to come? Well, they're going to see how good our product is, and we hope that they'll understand it and that they will come and buy it. And I'm here to tell you, hope is not a strategy. Okay? It is not a strategy, and you'd be surprised, or maybe you would not be surprised, how many companies use the hope strategy as for their marketing. They build a product and they hope that the customers are going to find it and are going to buy it. So, please remember that. If you don't remember anything else out of this presentation, remember this slide. Yes?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So at the university, I represent the Clean Energy Technology Center. We used to be the Solar Center. So we are a not-for-profit
Right.
entity. So I'm just curious, going back the slide before this one, if you would tweak any of those based on a not-for-profit scenario. Now, I will say, we're partly state-funded, we're partly federally funded, but we do have fee-for-service revenue as well.
Mm-hmm.
But just wondering how those marketing essentials there might change if you're thinking about a not-for-profit organization.
Well, I think that's a great question. And did everybody hear that? It's about how would we tweak these for a not-for-profit scenario. And so we would eliminate the profit piece, but it would be about, we want to connect with the people that care about the things that we're doing. They believe that your organization is there to serve them. You're committed through the work that you do, the products and services that you provide are going to help them to achieve their goals. So the profit is, whether it's profitable or not, again, if you find the people that value what you're doing and it's a great, again, a value to their business, then chances are they're going to pay for that value, what it's worth. Because they'll look at it and say that, hey, if your product or service, and we'll get into this a little bit, is that it's going to help me sell more stuff, reduce my costs, or it's going to help me solve a particular problem that's been nagging my business, that's costing me a lot of money, that is worth something to me. So I am willing to spend money to do that. In a non-for-profit, still most of these I think would apply. It's all about establishing that relationship, finding those people that you want to serve, identifying your target market, and then relating and engaging with that market, communicating the value that you have so that they understand it, and then they respond in kind. So is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hope's not a strategy. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a tough to see here, but this is the marketing planning process that ROAR typically goes through with clients. We have 3 phases: the assessment and analysis phase, then we go to phase 2, it's called ideation and planning, and then the 3rd phase, implementation and operationalization. I'm not sure operationalization is a word, but I'm going with it anyway. In the first phase, we do things where basically we need to look at what's going on. We look at a business, and they will come and they'll say, we're interested in talking to ROAR. We want to grow our revenue. Our revenue is not where it want it to be. We don't have enough customers. And I would say, okay, that's interesting. Then what we need to do is we need to look at what you're doing right now. I alluded to that earlier. We need to look at what you're doing right now, understand, we do a SWOT analysis, which is called strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for your business. We also like to go out and talk to customers, current, past, and existing customers, and employees to find out what the current beliefs are about your company and about your brand. Because you may believe that the marketplace has a certain belief about what your value is and what you do and what you're known for, and that could be completely different from what the market believes. And we want to make sure that it's not about you, and that's another axiom that I will tell you about in marketing here. It is not about you and your company, it's about your customer. So we want to ensure that the current beliefs external in the marketplace about you line up with what you believe. So we need to understand that. And we also want to take a look at your competitors. Understand, what is your competition doing? And how are they positioned in the marketplace? Who are their customers? And what kind of market share? We like to look at some of the advertising they're doing and just their overall marketing efforts. So as we move forward, because they're our competition, we need to understand how we're going to combat them. So it's important for us to understand that. The second phase is the ideation and planning, and that's when we go through and we establish goals of our marketing activities. We want to establish top-line goals of these are the things that we want to do. Again, one of them may be that we are going to, one of our business goals is to get more leads because we want to get more revenue. We want to get more marketing qualified leads. We want to, maybe we're going to get into, I say here, define target audiences. Maybe we want to get into a new market. And our purpose is we need to do the research to understand this new market, understand what do they care about, how do they get their information, where are they, both online and offline, and understand what types of things, how do they measure value. Also, we may have to craft our value proposition. That is something I'm going to talk about a little bit more in detail here. And again, messaging. This is the place where we identify all the scopes of work that are basically the gap between where we are and where we want to be. And it's important to outline those. Before you start embarking on implementing initiatives, you really need to understand that all these initiatives are in line with your overall strategy that's going to help you achieve your goals. And again, you'd be surprised how many companies I talk to, they just I love this story. I was talking with this particular client and we were talking about some of the things they were working on, and they said, well, we've got this great social media strategy. I said, wow, great, social media, that's good. Yeah, we're tweeting like crazy. I said, good. So why do you have the social media strategy? Is it helping you achieve your goals? And their response was, we really don't know. And I said, so why do you have the social media strategy if you don't know if it's achieving your goals? And they said, well, we had a marketing firm come in here and they told us we needed a social media strategy. And I said, let me guess, they do social media strategies, right? And she goes, as a matter of fact, they do. So I liken this to not having a strategy like this. You got to think of this as, it's like going to the doctor and you go into the examination room and the doctor immediately decides to put a cast on your arm. And it's like, doc, you haven't even examined me. Yeah, but you need a cast on your arm. And the reason you need a cast on your arm is because I do casts. So something to watch out for. That's why I really can't overemphasize the need for a strategy. And then finally, this is where we do the implementation phase, where we, based on the strategy and the tactics that we've defined in this phase, we implement here. And this is where we do the social media strategy. We may do SEO, search engine optimization of our website. Maybe we're going to do an email campaign, or we're going to be at a trade show and we're going to have a big splash where we are inviting certain key customer contacts to be there, and we're going to have these key meetings. So this is the place where those things take place. Any questions so far? Everybody with me? Okay. Okay, so I want to talk about value proposition. I just want to say, let's start off with this. When you think of the word value, what comes to mind?
Offering something that is above and beyond a price point, maybe.
Okay. Let me rephrase the question. When you're buying products and services, what do you consider to be valuable?
I guess it doesn't solve the problem. So I've always heard the expression, I don't need a 1/4-inch drill, I need a 1/4-inch hole. So in other words, my problem is that I don't have a hole in this board, I need a 1/4-inch hole in it. I don't really care about the drill, I just need to solve this problem. So finding value is having my problem resolved, I guess.
Right. So the whole idea is that the drill is valuable to you in terms of eliminating, creating that hole.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it a good deal? Is it worthwhile?
Okay. So getting a value, a lot of times some people define value as features over price. So if you get a lot of features for a very small or low price, very high value.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts about value?
Yeah, does it solve my problem that I have?
Okay.
How about return on investment, Ken, in terms of the value, right? If you're gonna trade something for a good or service, right? Or if you're gonna make an investment in either a technology or service, what's gonna be my return on that investment I make? I mean, that's what I think sometimes in terms of value prop.
Well, that's kind of, I think you're thinking a little bit down the line. So for example, is like, let's go back to his hole in the drill. All right, he uses it, he needs to have a hole drilled for something. I guess the question would be is having that hole drilled, what is the value, what is the quantifiable value to his business for having that hole drilled? So if if that hole, drilling that hole creates him a lot of money, for whatever reason, it has a lot of value, and his return on investment is really, he invested in a drill to drill the hole, and so it's whatever's over top of that. So that's where you'd be a return on investment from the drill. So yeah.
Good point.
So again, in the spirit of discussion, when I look at the value, depending upon what you're looking at, product, service, right? And then there's a tangible part and there's an intangible part.
Right.
Tangible product could be something I think on what we're seeing in this room, it solves my problem.
Right.
I want to buy something which is going to last long.
Right.
Now, intangible part is that when I go and buy that $4.50 my cafe latte in Starbucks versus same thing in McDonald's, is the little bit of brand of making myself special, feeling good about it, associating with the brand. So there's an intangible part which comes
Right.
along with that.
Yeah, there's an intangible value there to you.
Sure.
That there's a certain, and one thing we will talk about, I mean, I'd love to get into some branding thing, but the branding in your relationship with a brand, many times it's very emotional, and it's not based on anything quantifiable, but it is real. So, okay. How about proposition? I'm just so when we say, you're talking about value, and then we talk about proposition. When we say the word proposition, what's
What's your offer?
okay? Can you expand on that just a little bit?
So, what do you stand for, perhaps, as a company or a firm, and what it is in terms of what you may represent to, say, a potential client or a business partner, right? So, what's the, what are you gonna get, right? What's in it for me on the other side? Not so much what's in it for you, person that's gonna be delivering the value, because you have to create a proposition, right, in order to get some interest and find out if you're aligned, right, to whatever that individual or group or company may need. A little bit more of a long-winded explanation.
Right, but but again, it is, the thing about that is, I think the part that the kernel that I got out of that is, again, it's about the customer. So
Yeah.
the proposition is really, it's about talking about, here, Mr. Customer, here's what I can do to help you. Okay? And that's really important. And again, a value proposition is not about, it's that, how does my product or service deliver value to my customer? And that is not used talking about your product. It's a knowledge of your customer, a knowledge of their business pains, a knowledge of their business in general, and how you're going to help them move along to achieve their goals. Okay? And value can be characterized in a couple of different ways. Increase in the customer sales. Okay, we talked about that. It can be reduction of their costs. Okay? Or we're going to alleviate a pain that they have that's been nagging them for their business. And these are very common ways that we'll measure value, but it's important that when you have a value proposition, it's got to be measured in the customer's terms, not yours. So one of the things as you're making proposals to customers, one of the things that I always try to do is try to understand how do they measure value in their organization, if I can find out. Because as you communicate with them, you want to communicate in their language. You're going to get a lot better traction if you're able to do that. And again, I always say you'd be surprised how many don't do that. They talk about themselves, and that's when you get this sort of siloed. You got two people in the room talking, but they're not communicating. Okay. All right. I'd like to do a couple of examples here, just to kind of get your juices flowing. What do you think Amazon's value proposition is?
Rule the world.
I think you're right about that. That's their business goal. I don't know if it's their value proposition, but it's definitely their business goal. But what would you say Amazon's value proposition is?
How about convenience?
Okay.
I mean, having access to, good, right? Or a service anytime, anywhere.
All right.
Anytime, right? Instant delivery.
Yep.
So immediacy,
Immediacy.
efficiency.
Maybe they're the go-to source.
Mm-hmm.
We're your go-to source for pretty much anything.
One-stop shopping.
One-stop shopping. And oh, by the way, we're going to make our value also is we're going to make it as convenient or more convenient than shopping in a brick and mortar store. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts about Amazon? Anything else they might be doing in terms of value?
I think they're innovative.
Right.
They're starting to use drones and things
Mhm.
to deliver packages, and I don't know, people find that interesting.
I'll tell you that's a good point. The drones are good. I'll tell you one thing that was a huge value to me is, and I think Amazon was one of the first to really pioneer it, is the user reviews. I mean, let's face it, all of us, I would say, if we're looking at a product online, especially at Amazon, we all read some of the reviews, right? And Amazon pretty much did that for free. They got people to review for free. And I just think that one of the things that they created value out of is that you'll find now, we live in a world now where you will value the opinion of someone you don't know. I mean, granted, it's going to be statistically, you got the 5-star through the 1-star, but you are taking the opinion of someone you don't know, which was unheard of before. So, okay. How about this company? What do you think their value proposition is?
Ease of use, good design.
Right? Okay. But that's talking about the product. How about what do they do for customers?
Provide kind of a worry-free equipment.
Okay.
Simplicity.
Simplicity. For those of you that have Apple products, and I know a lot of us do, what do you think about when you think of Apple? Do you get any feelings, or how does it, what's your experience?
I think of it as a superior machine.
In what way?
Quality.
Quality, okay.
I
Very
feel like
intuitive.
It will last almost forever.
I mean, yeah, mine, this is a 5-year-old computer. It still works great. The software that they put on there is robust, protects against viruses. So, yeah, all right, so what we're saying is we build a really quality product that's gonna stand up and last. And I would say also, and I guess, whether it's an argument whether it's gone with Steve Jobs or not, but they were good at trying to understand what you wanted next.
And I do the product management for my living, right? I
Right.
really admire their roadmap. They consistently deliver one after another.
Right.
It just happens. But it's amazing to have that roadmap and consistency.
Yeah, and not every product is a success, but there's more successes than failures. I think they also, with the value that they bring is that and I feel like, for example, when you go into their stores, the store Crabtree Valley, and you get the people that wait on you, and you get some kind of geeks that are there, but it feels also like they're you. They're like you. You know, you've got a computer problem, or you want to get an iPad or something like that. I just felt like they understand me and my needs, which is good. That's what you want your customers to feel. Whether it's true or not, but that's what you want them to feel.
And again, just to put down, Apple is a great, again, we can talk all day on Apple, right?
Right.
But I think we talk about how they came into the phone market, changed the whole experience. But again, going back a little bit more into the small things, if we don't get into the boxes, the touch point, every touch point of the customer required design and thought through.
Right.
And that's where they got break away from the company.
Right.
We even go back to laptop, look at the old laptop that we had from Microsoft, Lenovo, and all the power cords, so much inconsistency. All the time, Apple has redefined how the basically even the power cord should look like, how the connector should look like.
Yep. No, you're right. You're right. I mean, they did, and you're right. They attended to every detail. Yeah. All right. Anybody want to share about their company and maybe about what you think the value proposition for your company is? I did share mine. I'll just say, for Roar, we help small and mid-sized technology companies grow repeatable, profitable, and scalable revenue through the providing comprehensive marketing strategies. So again, the key thing is growing their revenue, help them grow up, scale, and then the predictable, repeatable revenue, profitable revenue. Anybody brave enough to take a crack at what their value proposition is, knowing what we know now?
My company is educational software.
Right.
I was a teacher for 13 years. It's called Grammar Flip. And my value proposition is that Grammar Flip helps students improve their writing. So I teach them grammar. I show them how to employ proper grammar in their writing. So I would say it's value proposition is improve student writing. To the student, that's the value proposition. To the teacher, it's more about efficiency and classroom management. It allows teachers to individualize their instruction and reach more students in the classroom. So if you've got 30-some students in the class, you can much more quickly manage those students through Grammar Flip by seeing their progress online.
Right. That's good. I mean, I liked how you said that you help them with their grammar, which is, I thought that I remember going to school. Grammar was always a tough subject for me. So where were you?
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? All right. Here's just the thing, just to kind of drive home the concept of value proposition. This is what it's not. And I don't know if you can see this. Again, for those of you that didn't, you all get copies of this presentation. Your value proposition is the intersection of what the marketplace offerings, what the customer needs, and your offering. So it is here. What your proposition is not. It's not a statement about you or your company. Okay? It's not about you. And it's not about your product, service, features. Okay? And it's not about your company's position versus the competition. So let's just, again, as you go away from this, I hope you'll have a good understanding of value proposition, because that's really one of the fundamental building blocks of any marketing strategy, is knowing what that is. Okay. The next thing I'd like to talk about is understanding our target market. So, anybody know that have a thought about who their target market is for their company? Yeah.
So ours are larger energy users.
Okay.
So think about industrials, manufacturers, commercial buildings, so that could be government, institutions,
Okay.
things like that. Primarily commercial and industrial customers.
Okay, so it's a
Across
pretty
the Southeast.
okay. That's a pretty That's good, okay. Anybody else? Does anybody feel that they have a product that they could sell to pretty much anybody? No? Well, I'll tell you this. One of the things I want to talk about with targeting market, and thank you, Kimberly, for your inputs. How many of you have met somebody and said, oh, I've got this great product, and you know, we can sell it to everybody. Everybody want this. You know, I mean, I've heard this many times. Well, let me just say something about that. Everybody, you say you can sell to everybody? Well, that equals nobody, okay? I think it's important, so if anything, to try to understand that you need to define your target market. It cannot be everybody. You cannot be all things to all people. Otherwise, if you try to do that, number one, it's way too big to take on. And number two, your marketing efforts will be ineffective. So let's look at how big your target market is. Okay. There's a couple of key phrases we use when we talk about market. The first one we call TAM, total addressable market, and that's the whole market that you say, for example, we talk about energy. Maybe it's the whole energy market throughout the world. And it's fine, I am going to do an energy example in a minute. So, throughout the whole world, okay? The whole market for energy products and services, or for whatever industry we're talking about. Then we have the SAM, serviceable addressable market. That is the market that you can go after. Those are the customers that are fair game, could be customers for your company. Okay? And this is the group of people that you're going to focus your marketing efforts on to make them become customers. And then finally is the share of the market. And your share of the market is going to be whatever your sales are divided by the total addressable market. And that's your market share. Okay? I'm going to go through an example here, so kind of help make this a little more clear. As Kimberly knows, I'm in the energy space. I've been a power engineer for a long time, so I'm going to talk a little bit about energy. So I could start out and say, I'm going to go after all the technology for my market. These are for marketing services, marketing strategy services. I could say, well, my target market is all the technology companies in the USA. That's a lot of companies. And I'm a small guy, small business. There's no way that I could go after all these. So I would say that that's probably too big. Can't really do that. So we need to bring it down a little bit. All right. I say technology companies in North Carolina. That's still a lot of companies. You've got here in Raleigh, the Triangle, you've got Charlotte. I mean, if you're talking about software development, all different kinds of tech, that's probably too big. All right, so I go down and I distill it even further, and I say renewable energy and energy efficiency companies in North Carolina. Okay, that's something I think I can get my arms around. And I think I can get some research or do some research to find out exactly how big that market is, and then determine what's in it for me. So I think I'm going to go with this: renewable energy and energy efficiency companies in North Carolina. And I've got a little research that I did, and this just shows where some of them are. A lot here in Raleigh-Durham, or Charlotte, all the major metropolitan centers. So that seems reasonable, okay? All right. I do some secondary research on renewable energy. I can find it. There's lots of places where you can find it now. And I would say this, that there is absolutely no reason or excuse for not doing some research to find out who your target market is and how big it is. Yeah, absolutely, it's essential now. But I found out through some secondary research that renewable energy companies in North Carolina generated $6.4 billion in revenue in 2016. Okay, that's a pretty good sized market, okay? But we need to break that down even further, because that's still, for someone like me, that's way too big. I can't, I need to find out more what's going to be applicable for me. All right, well, I do a little more research, and for most technology companies, they spend about 10% of their revenues on marketing, roughly, okay? And so that brings it down to, I'm looking at $640 million as say that's the marketing spend by all the renewable energy companies and energy-related companies in North Carolina, how much they spend on marketing. Some spend more, some spend less. Okay, that's still, okay, but that includes marketing. This is also for internal marketing and their internal resources and things they're doing internally. This isn't for outside people like myself. So, I said, all right, I'm going to assume of the marketing spend that all these companies do, 5% of it they spend for outside people. They farm out, they outsource 5% of that. And that brings my number to $32 million. That's not a bad number to start off with for a small business. If your total market is $32 million. So, everybody with me so far on this? Okay. So I'm going to say that my total addressable market is $32 million. Okay? I do some more secondary research. And I say, I know in talking to my colleagues and some of the other people that I've worked with, past customers, the average spend, now again, you can go back and forth about what this might be, is say $750 per month somebody spends on marketing. So that comes to $9K a year. Okay, average numbers. So if you acquire a customer, they'll spend $9,000 a year with you. Okay? So that means that the size of the market is really 32 million divided by 9,000, and it means I've got roughly 3,500 potential customers that I could go after. Okay? So my total addressable market, 32 million, and I got 3,500 customers. It's important to have these numbers and to try to understand these numbers. Now, again, you might modify some of the assumptions here, but at least it gives you an idea of, at least at this point, if you've got 3,500 customers, that's going to give you an idea of the size of the marketing, or the size of the marketing budget you're going to need, and some of the initiatives you're going to need to take on in order to try to reach, if you're going to try to reach all of these customers at the same time, or you're going to reach a portion of them. But if it is, these are potentially 3,500 people that would be interested in your product or service. Yes?
Ken, can you expand on what you mean by average spend per customer?
I'm saying that if you get a new an average spend per customer, this is for marketing services outsourced, okay? For someone like me, I'm assuming that they hired me to do some of their marketing for me. The average spend would be about $9,000 a year. Okay, it may be more, it may be less. And I'm just saying, I picked a number that I just thought that was based on $750 a month. Okay? Again, these aren't hard and fast numbers, but they're ballpark to try to figure out what's the size of your market and how many customers. Okay. What I'll do is I'll finish up on the target market, and then I see lunches here. And what I'd love to do, if we could, is have you get your lunch and come in. I'd like to keep speaking because I got a lot of things I want to talk to you about, and we'll just keep going if that's okay.
It would be good for people who want to refresh their parking meters.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yep. So we'll take a break after this. All right, knowing of your target market, what do they care about? What are they talking about? What are they talking about online? What's important to them? We talked about what are their business pains? Again, this requires research. Again, and you notice, this has nothing to do with your business. Okay? This is you doing research on them so that you can understand how you're going to help them. Okay? And then where are they located? And we talk about online and offline. Okay, where are they? You know, are there industry sites that can put you in touch with these people? Where are they located physically? How can you get in touch with them? How can you talk to them? How can you interact with them? It's important to understand how you're going to do that because you want to have to put a strategy together on how you're going to communicate with these people. How do they get their information? It's really important to understand where, because wherever they're getting their information, that's where you want to be. So they can get information about you and the value that you're going to bring. Okay, I don't know if any of you have seen this before. We call this the marketing funnel. It starts off with an awareness, and we talk about awareness meaning that people are aware of your product. They're aware of you. They may have heard of you. It's very much when you're interacting with a brand. It's very much a top level, on the back of your mind kind of thing. And then it moves down to engagement, where you're engaging with a prospective client, or prospective customer, where maybe they're learning and they're gaining information about the products and services and your company and how your company is going to help them achieve their goals. So there's that dialogue that's going on. Then there comes a point where the customer makes a discovery that you can solve their problem for them. They realize you have something, you have a product or service that I believe through our engagement, it's going to solve my problem. And the customer makes that determination. Once they've made that determination, then now they may have, this discovery place, now they may have found that, also made that this discovery with your competitors as well. Because you've got competing products that can also solve their problem. So you're not done yet. Then we have to get to the purchase, where the customer has decided to become a customer of yours. And then we talk about retention. Once we've got customers, we don't want to lose them. And there are certain businesses where customers, there's what we call high churn rate, especially for software as a service and other types of brands. Also, when you go to the store, grocery store, you make a purchase for a product, there's no guarantee you're going to be a repeat customer. You may buy a different brand next time. But if the company's doing the job right, though, you're going to continue to buy their product. So retention is also a key piece that needs to have a strategy for. And so we talked about the marketing funnel. So one of the things we want to know from our target market, what is their buying process? And when I say by their buying process, not so much do they issue a PO or are they going to pay cash or pay with a credit card. It means when we get to when they're going through this funnel, when they start to become aware of us, what type of information do they need? What types of things do we need to supply to them? What value do we need to give to them in order to bring them from being aware of us, to engaging with us, to discovering that we can solve their problem, to purchasing our product or service, and then keeping ours. So it's important that we have to understand their decision process in order to make that happen. And then, again, what it comes down to is what value are you going to provide? And I show this here. Customers are aware of you and your company. Maybe they're aware of you. They see you online. What value are you going to provide them to move them down to they'll engage with you? Okay? Then what value are you going to provide them, additional value, so that they discover you're a candidate that can solve my problem? And then more value, to determine that if you're, as compared to your competitors, that the customer feels because of some value you provided here, they decided you're going to be the selection, and they decided to become your customer. And then, we all know this, is that when we purchase a product, especially a very large product, that's a high dollar, what value is the company going to provide us in terms of retention, to keep us retention? For example, customer experience. You buy a car, automobile. You know, and you take it in to get serviced. And if your experience at that dealership or wherever you take it to get it serviced, that's going to have a huge impact on whether you'll ever buy another one of those cars again if you have a bad experience. So it's important that even once we have customers, we can't just say, well, we got them as customers now, we can forget about it. Not so. We have to earn their business every single time. So it's important for us to keep value going for the retention piece.